We are at 7:03, so we're starting late. I apologize for that. I'd like to call the meeting to order for our October 5th Environmental Commission meeting. We'll do a roll call. So we'll start with Michael. Present. Peter.
Present.
Daisy.
Present.
Crystal.
Present.
That's what I get. Virginia.
Present.
Lewis.
Present.
Jennifer.
Present.
And Chuck Bonacci, Chair, present. I don't see any members of the community in our audience. We were holding the door open because we had some challenges with the lock. Daisy's back, manning that, and hopefully the recording is also working. So I see no audience and a successful roll call. We will move on to commissioners' reports. Do we want to go opposite direction? So we can start with Jen this time?
I have no report.
I had nothing.
I don't have a report, but I wanted to ask, has there ever been any initiatives in the city to try to interest the business community in doing anything, like planting things other than like vast swaths of lawn, like planting anything for pollinators or, just having some non-lawn? As you drive around and even like looking across the street, there's grass everywhere, but, there could be some improved habitat for birds, butterflies, bees. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Christ the King Lutheran Church right around the corner. They put in a big pollinator, I'll say garden, but was just seed. So it's not manicured or anything, it's just a nice habitat, and it's at least as big as this room. So it's an area that they don't have to mow, so that's one good thing for them, but more importantly, it creates, again, a good habitat for birds and bees. So anyways, just wanted to know if you've ever heard of anything like that in the city.
Daisy, have you heard of anything?
I know we have discussed that, and it'll probably be for next year. We'll be in contact with the Environmental Commission. But I was at Stone Creek last Friday, and you know where that fireplace is on the corner?
I don't know where Stone Creek
Okay,
is.
Stone Creek is on off of Ravenna Road.
Stone Creek. So you're talking the fireplace by the fireplace shop that's on the...
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay,
The fireplace shop.
Okay.
So in back of the fireplace shop, they have like a pollinator of wild flowers and weeds, and it's really beautiful. I mean, but we were looking for something else, and then, I happened to come upon this, and I'm asking the resident, is this a pollinator garden? And she goes, yes, and the fireplace shop is doing that because, he has the land. But, yes, we have discussed that, and even around the parks, I don't know if you've gotten permission from Metro Park, if you could plant.
Well, at the Liberty Nature Center, there's a big patch
Yes.
there, like right kind of adjacent to the building
Yes.
there. I guess, like, they say that it's kind of like a patchwork of places, like stepping stones.
Right.
That, to go from my yard to Jennifer's yard to,
Okay.
someplace down the street. And so kind of trying to stitch some things together to make better habitats. But if that's something that the city might be talking about, I'd be interested in kind of helping or learning or sharing information.
Okay, all right. Because I'll be meeting probably with the mayor tomorrow, and I'll put that on my list regarding
Okay.
places.
I mean, it's not a short-term thing, but something to get people thinking about it, and maybe not necessarily incentives, but encouragement, information, things like that to help people get started. And that is it.
So on a similar note to what you're asking, there's a homeowners association that's putting their pollinator garden in on Bell Meadow. So, which would not, that would kind of connect your patchwork that you're talking about. So if you had another one maybe at the old Adams Park site or somewhere over there, that would be a patchwork for that set of neighborhoods.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So, one of the HOAs has done that. I know it's not typically part of like the build out for the neighborhoods or the commercial development. Having gone to some of the planning meetings, they talk about water retention and they talk about minimum tree planting for their scope, but not things like these pollinator gardens.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you, Virginia. Crystal, do you have anything?
The only thing that I'll add is that there is a movement in Ohio called Powered Clean Future Ohio, where they are creating a coalition of cities that work on a number of environmental issues. One of them is emissions reduction, affordable options for communities in terms of sustainability, local clean energy jobs, and economic benefits. And I serve on the Equity and Community Engagement Committee for that group. And so I know that they will probably at some point reach out to the city of Twinsburg to talk about the movement and what they're doing and the other cities that are already engaged. But just wanted to flag that for you in case you wanted to look up poweredcleanfuture.org. That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Pete, do you have anything?
Not today, thank you.
Okay. Michael, do you have anything?
So, I'm not sure if anybody else got it, I believe that they did, but the City Planning Commission put out their draft sustainability goals and objectives. So, you know, I read through it. Timing happened to be pretty good. At the time I was going through energy auditor training, so it just kind of worked out pretty well. So I provided a few comments. So I'll try to jump back and forth on my email, just the comment I provided and the response. So I suggested prior to actually doing energy audits that they develop a utility usage scorecard, whether it's for buildings, departments, to kind of break it down and show where we're currently at, where the high usage is, things like that. They said they are working on that, but they've had some data gaps and issues in getting what they needed, but they're close to having that put together. So they should hopefully have something on that soon. They were actually looking at spending money on photovoltaic and wind, and I suggested that they get it subsidized by others as opposed to actually purchasing it, because there's plenty of ways to do that right now, allowing us to kind of free up money for other activities. You know, looking at our largest energy user, and then seeing if we can do that during non-peak hours to kind of get us away from the high peak charges, as well as potentially putting it when we'd be polluting less and moving away from those dirty types of energy sources. Suggested that they run a composting facility, which I did not realize was actually regulated by EPA because of the emissions from that. So they can't actually run one, but they said they are working to educate and provide more kind of, you know, guidance to residents so that they're able to do that on their own. So they said they're seeing some good engagement on that, so they think that's working well.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So who would be doing that? Are like the service department, or like who's providing that education? Or on the website, or?
Don't know. She had information about it and copied in Larry Finch, but he never actually responded, and more Jason Pistorius, so I'm not positive.
Okay.
So it's just, she just basically responded with her knowledge and copied them into,
Okay.
so that they could go into details if I had any more questions. Said they've been working on it for decades, so I don't know offhand. So they did say that some of it was provided through the Earth Day event, so I don't recall that recently, but I'm not sure. I also suggested continuing to identify hazardous materials and replace them to reduce hazardous waste generation, as well as moving towards energy efficiency, which they said they are working on doing. I suggested incorporating additional building code requirements to increase the energy efficiency of homes constructed throughout the facility, whether it's insulation, white roofing, water heaters, furnace efficiency, things like that, as well as native plants for new construction. How about windows? All of that would be included, yeah. So, they did say, that they basically adopted the energy code that's, in accordance with the state. So it doesn't seem like they're gonna go beyond the state code, so whatever the state building code is what they're gonna implement. What I was kind of thinking is, and if you're interested in what I'm talking about, if you look at like Minnesota, they have very specific requirements for how you seal the building envelope and the actual framing structure before you ever put drywall in. So in addition to insulation, they're actually sealing all of the potential draft places and things like that, basically sealing up that building envelope to make it a lot better efficient. And then I suggested starting to enforce people not blowing grass and leaves into the street, creating issues with the stormwater system, which is what it is, unfortunately. So she did say they've been making progress with educating both public and commercial landscapers, but I continue to see just the same. So there's really no change, unfortunately, that I can tell, at least in recent history. So, but yeah, I just, provided them some feedback. Like I said, the timing happened to be perfect because I was going through the energy auditor training. So, but that's all I have. So,
Well, awesome. Thank you for responding to that request, because it was things I didn't quite understand. So good to have us involved, and they did offer us a seat on that when they started to meet.
yeah,
And just,
unfortunately, I had conflicts, so I couldn't attend.
yeah, and it's tough with all of our other schedules. But it's good that they're still including us and asking us for feedback. So for my report, I'd like to start with a huge congratulation and a huge amount of recognition, because to my left, Crystal Davis is one of 6 people being recognized by the Great Lakes Water Protection Fund this year for her efforts in environmentalism and activism. And specifically, she's being recognized for efforts to bring equity to the water supply system and address kind of a hidden environmental thing when we think of water. When we think of environmental water, we think of runoff, but we think of pollution and contaminants in industry. We don't necessarily think of drinking water. And we don't think of how that impacts folks that live in urban city centers that are of the lowest poverty levels. And she's being recognized for the work she's done in that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it. Thank
Okay.
you. I appreciate it. That's it. Thank you.
And so she didn't know I was going to do that tonight, but this is, out of all the Great Lakes region, if you think of how many folks there are working in environmental things that relate to the Great Lakes, to have a Twinsburg resident and somebody on our commission recognized for that, that's great. And then to compound it, to be an advocate for those that are struggling, it's a recognition that's well deserved. So in follow-up to our last meeting, we had a question about what kind of fertilizer and what the plans for fertilizer use on the golf course and in our other city-owned properties are. So I have some information. And it was what I kind of expected it to be. The people that apply the products are licensed, so that's a good thing. And they don't apply them in all the spots I thought they would have, so that's probably an even better thing. And they're balancing, in general, aesthetics with environmentalism. Because few people want to go to a golf course that's riddled with dandelions and weeds.
Right.
So at the golf course, I'll just read from the memo that was sent to me from Jim Roberts, the Director of Golf Maintenance. The golf maintenance staff applies environmentally safe EPA-approved pesticides and organic and synthetic fertilizer on golf course when needed. Our goal is to promote healthy turf while keeping friendly environment and sustainable business. Applications are made by trained staff that are certified commercial applications licensed with the state. Before the product's applied, weather conditions are monitored, the label instructions are followed, and applications are not made close to waterways such as the ponds and creeks and streams that run through the golf course. Such of the programs that we have in place keep our waterways protected, including vegetation uncut around the water features to have a natural sediment as bays for the irrigation to keep the pesticides and the other things out of that, plus they aerate the water. So the golf maintenance staff is committed to customers, residents for fun golf experience and nice conditions in a protected environment. So he sent me a picture too, just in case I didn't understand what he meant. So what it looks like is they have this wildflower kind of things planted against the ponds, and I could pass this around, against the ponds, and then they don't put the pesticides close to it and the herbicides close. So then those plants filter it out, hopefully before it gets into the water.
That's a buffer zone.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So that's from the from them. Now from the maintenance city service, they apply pesticides used at the outdoor water park, the amphitheater, East Idlewood ball field, Glen Meadow ball fields, Liberty Park, and athletic fields. And they got a list of the kinds that they do and what they look for. And again, their products that they're using are 100% full organic material and contain no conventional products or chemicals that are harmful for the environment in those places. Now, in other places, like at the fire stations and the cul-de-sacs that are in the different neighborhoods that have them, they use different products. So they're using things that are, they give me the chemical numbers and the EPA identification number, and the main thing is they're not using the products in the abundance that when you look at how much green grass there is in the city, I had visions of like products being spewed on all the little traffic islands and all these places, and it turns out that they're not using that much. In the spots that they are using them, especially where kids are playing in the ball fields, it's organic products, so that's probably good things for that. Okay? So that's a follow-up for that. Moving forward, we have to set a calendar of the things that we want to accomplish for the next year, given I think this is the last meeting for this year. I know one thing we weren't able to do is a full-on Earth Day, and the Earth Day is mentioned in the strategic plan for the city. It's also important for the sewer fund. They have some sort of community engagement, and they leveraged our Earth Day events for that fund. So I think we should have an Earth Day event on the Saturday that's nearest the Earth Day.
Yeah, in April.
April, it'll be like April.
And where are you getting the funds?
We will ask, but the funds are, I don't think we've spent much on that in the past. And I'll work with the Metro Park to see if we could piggyback on theirs. The challenge we've had is like the last cycle of two of them was one, they were closed completely, then the next one they were closed but still had like some of it open. And now it seems like things are a little bit more promising for those kind of things. And the park system's doing different education system. So I know in the past, the Summit Metro Parks was excited to help us with Earth Day, and it was their busiest day at the park. So it would be, I think it's something that they'll buy into and they'll be excited.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And it
Even
was-
the library would probably bring new
So
things too.
So that'll be our first thing, and then we did a scaled down community cleanup where we encouraged folks to go out on their own. But I think one thing we missed is an opportunity for students to get community service hours and have a documented method.
Yeah.
And I know in the past, we've had entire clubs from the school come to our community cleanup day. So I think in the spring as well, we should do a community cleanup day. And then in the early summer, June-ish, do a document shredding. Document shredding is interesting. we had gone like gangbusters, and it kind of scaled back this last year. And I think this last year wasn't as busy because folks were at home and they did their cleaning while they maybe should have been working, and there wasn't as much this cycle. But I suspect as things go back to normal and chaos of life happens, document shredding will pick up again. And we were busy. We still loaded that truck with 9,000 pounds of material, but in the past we've filled the truck and it was bursting at the seams and had to call on a second one. So I think if we try to do that again in June, that'll be good. And then that comes at a cost, and I'll talk to the mayor and service department for their staff, because we can't do it without the service department. It's too much heavy lifting in the material without them. And then we have possibly the opportunity to do another e-waste program. E-waste is literally anything with a plug or cord, or that took batteries, has components and valuable material in it.
Right.
But unfortunately, the reality is most of us view that stuff as completely disposable. Number one, because the cost of it's gotten so inexpensive,
Right.
and the lifespan of the products don't last as long. So folks just put it in the trash. There's one company, it's a veteran-owned company out of Akron, Talmadge area, that does organized waste, e-waste collection and data destruction. So they take apart your computers and things with hard drives and shred those on site. And Jen was involved with that, right? You were putting things in the shredder.
Yes.
And it was fascinating. And what really bummed me out, and this was like an impromptu event, this company engaged with the mayor, and suddenly they were on the ground, and we were able to host that event at the service department. Driving home from that, after watching folks carry those big CRT monitors from computers and the 30-plus inch televisions, there was one on the curb around the corner from me on the same day that we were actually doing the recycling event. And it used to be that if you put a TV out on the curb, somebody would get it, but now that's not the case. And if we could keep, probably 85 to 120 pounds of material from going into landfill, and they could get the precious metals out of there that are the rare earth metals that are hard to come by, that are literally strip mining parts of the world, and they could recycle it. And this guy in Akron has the manpower to take these things apart, separate the metals, and get it to the right place. I think we should partner with him again. And maybe we do that one closer to the fall, because we have the first part of the summer, and we did that. What was the month of that? It was hot. When they set it up, it was... Right, Jack?
Lithium batteries is one thing that needs to get recycled, because lithium is going to be something which is going to be in very short supply for, we're thinking about, all electric vehicles. So lithium will be a critical metal.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens, because when that gets down to waste management, what do they do?
Our current pickup, so they have some rudimentary sorting systems, but if they become overwhelmed and there's not a market for the material that they could sort out mechanically, it goes into the ground.
So if you're talking about our current setup, they don't recycle batteries out of, if you put lithium batteries into the recycling the waste management picks up, they do not recycle them.
Right.
Not set up to that. So they would only recycle basically glass, metal, plastic, paper, and cardboard.
Right. But only when there's a market do they even bother to turn that.
Yeah, they'll sit on it for years
Yeah.
until it's useful. They'll make them move.
So I think it's important to do the e-waste collection, because the reality is, like, if you have something that you're sitting on and you try to get rid of it the right way, and you don't find one of these venues to do it for free, you're de-incentivized from recycling it because people charge you to take it in. And if we could figure out a way to have a regular recurring free e-waste, I think it makes sense for the benefit of a resident so they don't have to pay. And we're diverting the material from the places it shouldn't be, especially as the metals become harder and harder to find.
And educating the residents that you should be recycling them, not throwing them away too. I didn't know that you could recycle them, and there's an event where it can be done.
And it was strange what people brought in. I shouldn't say strange. The flyer said anything with a cord on it. So you had like cordless weed trimmers and toasters and vacuum cleaners and stuff that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. But the folks literally read the flyer, and this guy's going to take the cord, strip off the plastic base, and he has some copper. And he explained his whole process to me. The challenge is when he collects it, he then has to have the manpool to break it all down. It's incredibly labor intensive. And then he's recycling it, so he's selling it to a metal recycler. And he's trying to make a little bit of a profit off this.
And I think they rented some of the older materials to movies and TV shows that needed something from that specific time period.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, some of the stuff was like put separately that it was going to have like some other value other than
Yeah,
being
you see
torn apart.
movies with the flip phones and current movies with
I donated some vintage cell phones. Hold on here for a while.
So,
Chuck, remember when we had the orange bags on the Environmental Commission?
Yes.
For clothes, and if you could only find one of your children's shoe, you know, they would take that, and all the materials and the shoes and the coats and the one glove, this company, and I don't remember the name of it.
Simple
Simply
recycling.
That was
They
it.
were out of Solon, and they have, I don't know if they're reopened, but they
don't-
were closed for the last,
Yeah.
for the pandemic cycle.
Yeah,
They were
couple
not
years.
doing anything.
Right. I saw a truck go down my street, but it just went so fast because no one knew they were coming. But this company, one thing about Simple Recycling, they didn't sell the clothes. They reused everything. Everything that you gave them, they made a product out of it. And it wasn't like they would take it to the Goodwill or take it to another organization that would buy used clothes. They recycled everything, and
A lot of their stuff went into building materials, which was
It did.
fascinating.
Wow.
It
That
did.
the wrap for your house, for new construction on a house, could come from
right.
old sneakers and polyester clothing that had worn its useful life or sized out of your household, and it would become the insulation material in somebody else's home.
Right. And I think they came the same day as Waste Management.
Right. They had a partnership with Waste Management, and somehow Waste Management would communicate there was an orange bag left,
Yes.
and the truck from Solon's Simple Recycling would swing by. But I will check to see if they're back up and running.
Yeah.
It appears that they are, and they come like, it looks like once a month or so,
Okay.
with available dates, or maybe it's twice, it's every other week, it looks like on their calendar online.
I know I saw the truck. It could have been 2 weeks, a month ago. I don't know. First time I've seen it in a long time.
That would be good to communicate with people too, because I have a partially filled bag in my garage waiting for, okay, that's
Where
good.
do you get the orange bags from?
Well, the city they gave their bags to the city, and you would pick it up in our lobby.
Right, and then Waste Management would have a campaign where they were tied, the driver would tie it on your
Garbage
garbage
can.
pail.
Right. That's right.
Like the handle.
Unfortunately, there was some miscommunication with this program based on some people think that all donated items are usable. And, you know, everybody wants to donate to a place that will use it at no cost to the end user and forego the idea that Salvation Army's thrift stores and Goodwill thrift stores are part of a vocational program to help folks rebuild life skills. They see their donation as their intent for their donation is to give it to an end user without cost. And that's hard to do at scale. And that's and Simple Recycling comes into, basically they're in play for the things that are not usable.
Right.
to be recycled in some other way.
For instance, throw rugs, your dog rugs.
Right.
So that leads me to, I had a resident reach out to me, which is like a rare thing. Chuck, we have a challenge. And the challenge is interesting because I think it relates to some of the concerns that Councilman Scafidi brought up
With waste management?
with waste management maybe 5-6 months ago. He started noticing that they were missing things, or the wrong truck was picking up the regular trash truck was picking up the recycled material.
Right.
And this resident reached out and basically said, this is maybe if we did a better job with communicating what's recyclable and not, you wouldn't see that trash truck picking up the recycled material. And I think sometimes this is like, folks don't realize that the trucks look the same. They do. They don't have a separate one for recycling. They just dispatch that guy to do recycling that day out of his truck. They all look the same, so it's hard to discern when she said the trash truck's picking up the recycling. I didn't understand it. But her concern was we don't really, we don't know what's recyclable and what's not. And I know that was a thing at Earth Day that we did. We had the what gets recycled and what isn't. And I know the city has on their website a listing. And I would attempt, and I know others have attempted, that when this would come up on one of the community pages, to direct people to the waste management side of our city's website, to what's recyclable or not. But this person asked if there's something this commission could do to better communicate what's recyclable and what's not.
Well, you know, what would be great, because I was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking about it. Why can't Waste Management furnish stickers? And we put it on the recycled garbage can. This way, the resident will know what to put in it, because sometimes we get confused. And the reason why I'm saying that, just say if you had a bottle with a screw top, you put the bottle in, but that screw top goes in the garbage.
Or the little cellophane label has to come off of the bottle.
Yeah, that goes, yeah,
That's a sheet plastic.
I
yeah.
think it's more confusing than we give it credit for, because it also changes.
Yeah.
And so I've worked with the solid waste district in Cuyahoga County, and they said, yeah, the sticker that we gave you last time, it's changed. So now these things aren't recyclable. It's not everything that has the triangle on it or some number on the bottom of a piece of plastic. So I think we can partner with, local government to figure out what educational services they provide, so we're not duplicating efforts, but actually helping them to build a crowd to do the education that someone at their organization may be tasked with doing.
Right. So, Crystal, that's a good idea, but I think the challenge is when the library hosted the Summit County Waste District, they have a different, because we're in northern Summit County with a different contractor. Waste Management has a different set of what's recyclable compared to what those folks brought to the library. And so their message, and then our community is really, while we're focused on Twinsburg, folks merged the school district into Twinsburg. So you have 3 municipalities that have 3 separate contracts and vendors with different sets of rules. So it gets really, it would be great if the waste district would communicate the rules of the municipality that they're in, or the
Right.
vendor that's servicing you. Because that presentation created a ton of confusion.
Right. And and to add to that, I have friends and family members who are saying it's easier for me to throw everything away.
Yeah,
Because I don't
put
want
it
to
in the garbage, right? They don't want to sort.
Of trying to go through sorting and not being able to get it right. Or they thought they were doing the right thing and they put everything inside of a trash bag to recycle it.
I know.
And so,
And that's-
it's difficult.
Excuse me, I'm a little confused. I have 2 cans in my garage.
Right.
One is for recycle and one is for trash, garbage. And they're different colors, different color lid. So what's complicated about that?
So the complicated thing is
What goes in?
what's recyclable and what's not recyclable.
Right.
So an example would be my wife and I bought new pots and pans. She viewed pans as metal. She put them in the recycle bin. I pulled them out of the recycle bin because in our recycle program, they don't do that kind of material. They do cans, bottles, and paper. That's essentially what.
Or something even more tangible, or like more everyday. You have a pizza delivered to your house, and you say, okay, this cardboard box, I'm done with it. I should recycle it. You cannot recycle pizza boxes. So people are, it's not we're confused about what can to use. That's clear, but it's confusion. There's confusion about what's actually recyclable and what's not.
Well, it's the food on the pizza box, that's why you can't put it
right.
in the
So
recycling.
If there's contamination in the material, it's not able to be recycled. This is a short, simple answer. But Domino's and Pizza Hut and all the big pizza chains put on their box that this product's recyclable.
Well, the biggest thing is the aluminum cans and the soft and the water bottles.
So I just searched each community and recycling, and every one of them on their website has a list of currently acceptable items. So I'm struggling with how much we can actually affect that necessarily.
I understand.
If people won't type it into Google.
I understand.
You know, and the other thing is too, and I don't know if anybody else has ran into this, but for whatever reason, our cans get crushed in our street, probably because we're often forgotten. So they're in a hurry at 6:30 p.m. to get through our street. But our cans get crushed and we get a replacement. And when you open the lid on the replacement can, it has a hanger in there that says what's recyclable. So
Replacement can.
inside of the can, if you look in your can, there's a little hook, and they put the paper thing in there so that when you open the lid for the first time, it's in there. So, I mean, some of that is going on, but to your point, it'll change. So, and again, it may be the pessimist in me, but I'm struggling to see how we can affect change necessarily if people won't even Google what's out there.
Well, and when she said, how can we communicate to the community, like, how does she want to receive the information? Does she want something mailed to her house? But as Michael said, I mean, you can Google it or go on the Twinsburg website, but if she doesn't communicate that way, so that's another issue, that you have to communicate the way they'll receive that information.
Is this considered new business? Just a
Well, I don't know where, I don't know.
Because
where
one of
we're
the things that I'm struggling with is I think that it would be easier for us to communicate with the community if we said, these are the 4 things we're going to do this year.
at. Okay.
These are the 4 things that we're going to focus our efforts on. Other things may come up and we'll talk about it and we'll try to send you to the correct resources. But if there was an opportunity to meet with the city and for them to talk to us about the plan that has come out, us to sit down and have an opportunity to talk about what are even if it's major 3 things. We know we want to do Earth Day. We know we want to do a community cleanup. Is there something else that we can add new? And then we can start to work plan from there. Who are the strategic partners for those opportunities? And then we have an opportunity to have everybody around that cares about this issue see where they can show up in that plan. So the library can look and say, oh, we can help with Earth Day and we may be able to be a partner for one of the cleanups or whatever. But I think that way it's less sporadic in terms of what we're working towards and when we're meeting, because then we know what we have to discuss when we do meet.
I think that's interesting too. Is like how do you influence change? How do you create change? And in order to do so, it's creating awareness, creating desire for the change, developing some knowledge behind that change. I think perhaps we have a good opportunity with Earth Day, is I'd call it a jumping point.
It is.
Of to create awareness, elicit some desire, and provide some knowledge for change and any kind of change. I'm thinking of the cleanup day. What a great opportunity that would bring to our community to talk about the need for spring cleanup, elicit some volunteer support, sign up sheets, email addresses, and to push that forward. Recycling days, what do we call it? The e-waste day, and what that means. Save your computers, don't put them in the trash, save them because we're having this.
Right.
So it seems like that Earth Day might be a really good jumping off point to start our next year.
The one thing that I can add to this is just, I had reached out to the city about a couple different ideas and opportunities that I kind of saw within the city operations and potential for the environmental commission to kind of impact those areas. And what I was told was that the city charter currently says that the environmental commission is to educate the public. And outside of educating the public, it would require a change to the charter, which at that time was not anything they were interested in doing. So just some considerations there that educating the public is our only goal. And so outside of that, and again, I inquired a while ago, but outside of that goal, there is no desire to do that right now. So, at least at that time. So.
I think that with the programs that you have already in place, that's educating the public. You're letting them know what you're doing and the reason why you're doing it, and then you get them involved. One thing I found, and Chuck can vouch for it, residents want to be a part of something in this city. We had the cleanup. We cleaned up Highland Road. We incorporated the township people. They cleaned up Twinsburg. We cleaned up parts of Haddon Road. And they would ask us, when is your next cleanup? We want to be involved. We got the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. They wanted to be a part of it too. And anytime we had e-waste and with the shredding, and we had more volunteers. Some of them would just stand there and watch and learn because we didn't want to refuse them. But that's what I found, and I'm sure Chuck found too, that once you have these programs and they are successful, the residents, they're just dying to participate in it. They really are.
And we got them to be a good scale. When we started, not when we started, but about halfway through our programming of Earth Day, we used to have a few dozen people come. And we got it up to several hundred. So the impact had definitely changed over time. And I agree that the Earth Day is the launching off point. And I think our programming should be advertised when folks come into the Earth Day of what we will do, and I'll put together the calendar of when the document shredding is and why do we do document shredding. When the e-waste is and why do we do e-waste. We'll have the waste management same display that we had the high school kids doing the sorting. That'll hopefully solve the immediate challenge, because that's the biggest communication piece that we have. So what's recyclable and what's not. And unfortunately, that's the time that we could hit all of the things, but we could flood it with our biggest event to find the volunteers for the other things, because it sucks being on the side of the road for the community cleanup. I'd rather have it in the parks and along the creeks than on the roadways.
We did that, remember?
For a number
I
of
think
reasons,
that was
because it's,
clean.
you had me waist deep in the creek. That was a fun one. Because it's just not safe on the side of the road. And it's, especially for folks that bring their kids. And I'm amazed at how many people bring their family that has a high school kid that needs to get the community service hours, and they bring the little ones along with them, and they're eager to pick up stuff.
Right, they are.
So-
But we also had the search team with us, and their, what was that motorcycle group that?
The
Widow's
also-
Son.
Yeah, and the Widow's Sons.
They cooked us the
Because they
hamburgers
cooked
and hot
for
dogs.
us.
It's terrifying on the side of the road.
And I think the other thing we need to recognize is that's extremely weather dependent.
Yeah.
So, because the one time you and I did it on, along
Chamberlain Road, right?
Yeah, Chamberlain. We had, 20 people total? Because it was wet, it was cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we want to do it in the fall, or do we want to move it up when it's potentially warmer? or do we want to have a backup day in case the weather is bad? We can say, okay, today it's going to rain all day, let's move it to X day. So, you know, just kind of planning around your contingencies as well, that's something to take into consideration.
So the hiccup with doing it in the spring is the kids that need the hours are almost done getting all their hours.
I'm thinking more summer,
So-
or early fall.
Early fall's probably our best bet for that. So we could do it right after school starts, August, September. They can knock out 4 or 5 of their hours and get them on their way, because they have to get, I think, 40 hours of community service. Doing things in the summer just doesn't work to get the kids because they're not incentivized to participate. I hate to say it. And if we are trying to help them and we're doing it at a time when they're not available, it doesn't help us either. So the cleanup would be August, September. And I will secure the dates, and the reason we don't have a follow-up date is Shannon didn't have the calendar for the year set up, so she just said, Chuck, leave it blank, and we'll figure out when the room's available. I'm advocating for Tuesdays still, but there's more and more folks using the room, so it gets to be dicey on when we could do it. But I'm hoping that we could do February, March, April, and then meet 3 meetings in the fall, because they fund us for 6 meetings a year. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And that'll mirror what we've done in the past, it's just we didn't have the dates. I want to be respectful of time, and I know we bridged from my report into new business, and we skipped council's report.
I have a few
Anything?
things, just a few things.
Okay.
Yes, being on council, I've just created this special project that I would like to do, and that's to recognize people on commissions and also council and employees. And so, Crystal, you'll be my second person that I would like to recognize, and if you could give me all the information regarding your promotion and your appreciation, please give it to me ASAP, because I'll give it to the mayor, and he'll, Shannon will type it up, and he'll present it to you. But Chuck, I'll let you know when the presentation will be. It won't be this coming Tuesday. It'll probably be sometime in November. Okay. Also, I just wanted to mention about Materian Parkway, and I don't know if any of you have thought about that, but my daughter went to what is it, Prayers for Maria, and is that at Avon? What is that? Yeah, and all the beautiful sunflowers. And I talked to the mayor, and I said, if I was on the Environmental Commission, I would take a Materian Parkway and plant. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts plant all of those sunflowers and pumpkins and just, that's just me saying it. You don't have to do it. I can't do it in my position, but that's something that I would absolutely love to see, even if it was, 20 feet of sunflowers. So beautiful. And we could take pictures, and possibly that could be a fundraiser for the Environmental Commission. Take pictures with the sunflowers and the pumpkins. Everyone else charges. See, your commission can charge. Council cannot. And I think that'll be a great fundraiser. Involve the high school kids, elementary, however you want to do that. Also, there's one more thing that I wanted to say. Sunflowers, hazardous waste, Great Lakes. Within a couple weeks, we're going to be meeting with Waste Management regarding our contract. I'll get in contact with you, Chuck, and let you know when they will be coming to council. If you want to come and speak for the group, because Sam is going to be there, and he's going to go over the contract as to what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. And I think a representative, since you mentioned certain things about waste management, perhaps you can come and speak for the group and let us know exactly how we can work a lot of things out. And I think that's all I have. That's all I have.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
And thank you for filling in for Bill today.
Yes, I don't think Bill's feeling well at all.
No?
I know he called me about 5 o'clock, 5:30, and he's going, "Can you fill him for me?" I'm thinking, you sound sick. And I go, yes, stay at home, get off the phone. So,
Okay. Well, I hope he's feeling better. He's a nice guy. I hate to see him under the weather.
yes.
Do we have anything else for the good of the order?
No, that's all I have, thank you.
Anything from anyone else? Okay. We have no one to excuse because we're all here tonight. That's great. I
Woo-hoo.
think that's the first time
Really?
in a while.
Hey, that's good. What's the last meeting of the year?
So I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:53. Anyone want a second? We're good.